Hello, 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 ladies and gentlemen. If you don't know who I am, my name is Shook. I make videos for NBA. I make videos for NFL. All these videos they get posted on this subreddit right here. It's called DF Sports with one S. I make updates throughout the day with all the news that comes out. You can ask me questions about the slate. I'll always reply to you. So check that out. That'll be down below. And if you ever need to get a hold of me privately, you can do so on Twitter right there. All right. Before we get into this, I believe 11 game slate for the 30th. Let's do a little recap of everything that happened today. But before we do that, if you are interested in joining my Discord, I'll have a link to that down below. In the Reddit post where I have in-depth content going over each slate, player pools for cash and tournaments, cores for cash and tournaments, tiers, cores, whole bunch of stuff. That'll be in there as well. All right, so I show you guys my results every single day so you can gauge how I am doing. But first, before we get into that, I just have to shout out what's been going on this is all in the past 2 days in Discord. I just have to shout it out. I blurred everyone out, but you know who you are. This is just the last 2 days in Discord. What, like a couple $100 into like $4,000, like $100 into $3,000, just some insane stuff. Nice first place there. We had someone win $25,000 today in football. I don't even know what the entry was, but $6,000 there. Just insane stuff the past 2 days with NBA. Nice day there, nice day there, nice day there. So it's just been absolutely insane the past 2 days. But let's go over my lineups for today. So going to be a break-even day for me. I went small today because of football. I didn't even see that all the contests had filled. So I didn't get to enter much. And if you want to see how I did in football today, I absolutely smashed. Absolutely smashed football today. So it was like a plus couple hundred a day, $300-$400 day. But this was my showdown lineup for tonight. I went with Westbrook, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, Zach Collins, Sochan, Bones Highland. Cashed with ease there. This is my night slate lineup. I went with Westbrook, D'Angelo Russell, LeBron James, Robert Covington, Anthony Davis, Bones Highland, Keegan Murray, Zach Collins. The core that I had for this night slate was Anthony Davis, Zach Collins, he kind of busted. D'Angelo Russell, he obviously smashed. And I want to say getting to one of LeBron, Fox, getting to one of LeBron or Fox, because you couldn't place a bonus with AD and Zach Collins. Both LeBron and Fox absolutely smashed. And this was my main slate. Just how do the Bucks get blown out at home by the Atlanta Hawks when they're favored by 9 or whatever it was? And when will the Tyrese Maxey faders? When? When will they learn? I mean, this kid, he's incredible. Once we got news Jalen Johnson was starting, he was the best value play on the slate. My core for this slate was Malcolm Brogdon. He nuked. Shaden Sharp, he did well. Giannis Antetokounmpo would have nuked if he played the fourth, and Zach Collins, who was a bust. So, pretty decent core there, but kind of so. Happy to lock in a profitable day for the day today, and happy to see all the huge winners. It's been insane. So let's go over Boston and Washington. So, I mean, the good thing with Boston is they are running their starters into the absolute ground. Look at the minutes. It's unheard of to see guys this early in the season pushing for 40 minutes. It's just absolutely absurd what the Celtics are doing with their guys. Unbelievable stuff. But if they're going to keep playing their guys this many minutes, like 36 minutes for Derek White, Drew Holiday's playing decent minutes, like Tatum's playing 40 minutes, it's just absolutely absurd. So in a good spot up against Washington. Now, I do think there's a ton of blowout risk, but I think you have to have some interest here. I like Porzingis price tag at 8.3K, and you guys know if Daniel Gafford does play, I always love targeting Daniel Gafford, so sign me up for some Porzingis. I think he's a really solid play at 8.3. I have no issue paying up for Tatum on the slate. I think it's okay. I think some other spend ups do look a little bit better though, but I do like Tatum. Brown is always just there for me. He's always just like a fine last piece in. 7-8 seems reasonable. And then I think Drew Holiday and Derek White are okay plays at their respective price points too. But overall, my favorite play on this team is definitely going to be Porzingis. And then I guess Derek White's second if I had to rank them point per dollar. Drew third, and then Tatum fourth, Brown fifth if I had to rank them based on their salaries. And then it's just impossible to go to anyone off the bench with how tight of a rotation they are playing. So my only concern in this game is blowout. But if this game stays close, I mean, you're going to see one of these Celtics, maybe even two of these Celtics, just absolutely nuke. So I definitely have interest in the whole Celtics team tomorrow. All right, so it's a bad spot here up against Boston, so I don't have too much interest in this team. Now, we're going to have to wait and see what happens with Daniel Gafford here. That is going to be some important news. How do I pull up the depth charts? If I had to guess, it would be, if Gafford's out, it would be Mike Muscala who moves into the starting lineup, and he's not terrible. So if Muscala does start the flat min, I would like him for value. If Gafford plays, I don't really have interest in either of them. Denny at 5'5" at a bad spot seems priced about right. Tyus Jones at 6'3" is now getting to the price point to where I think he is priced about right. Also a bad spot. Kyle Kuzma does have a ceiling. He is going to play big minutes. I mean, Jordan Poole and Kyle Kuzma are going to take all the shots for this team. It's those two. Everyone else get out of the way. So I still think they do have ceilings. I'm just not a big fan of the spot, and I think they are priced about right. Not going to play Kispert. Cool Bali had a really good preseason, but he's really slowed down. Not really going to go there either. So keep an eye on that Gafford news. We could have Mike Muscala season. So we have Levine probable for tomorrow in a good pace-up spot up against the Pacers. So here's my thing when the Bulls are all healthy. It's like, I know one of these guys is going to have a really, really big game, and it's a pace-up spot against the Pacers. Like, I know one of these guys is going to have a really good game. Trying to figure out which one it's going to be is an absolute nightmare to me. So based on their prices, I would say probably Levine would be my favorite, but I think he will be the most popular, especially after that absolute insane 50-point game he had. So just be wary there. But DeMar, Vooch, they have the same ceilings. I would say Vooch has the highest floor between the main three, so he would be the safest of the bunch going up against Miles Turner. But I think Levine would be my favorite. Vooch would be my second favorite. DeMar would be my third. I think they're all solid plays. I think they're all still too cheap. It's just trying to figure out which one is going to have that big game is always just a mystery to me. Kobe White had the worst game of his career last game. It's probably going to keep his ownership down a bit. I think he's fine. Probably will be unowned on this slate. Don't hate like a bounce back here. But 5-1 does seem right. I'm not going to play Paw, and there's nothing else I really have too much interest there. All right, on to the Pacers. So once again, I think it's decent here for them. I think Miles Turner going up against Vooch seems priced about right now, but he still does have a ceiling. I mean, I played him here when he was over $1,000 too cheap, and he just got into massive foul trouble. But the thing is, he's always in foul trouble. That's the one knock with Turner. Like, I think I'd rather just play Vooch at a similar price point. Over Miles Turner. I think Vooch is the better play. I do like Tyrese Halliburton, though, quite a bit at 9.4. Now, the thing with him is he's not going to play huge minutes. Like, I'm expecting low 30s. But I like this game environment for him. He's going to stuff the stat sheet. Good rebounder. Can do absolutely everything for this team. I think 9.4 is just too cheap. So I like Tyrese Halliburton to spend up quite a bit. The rest of this team is just disgusting for DFS. So I'm not going to play Healed on 11 game slate. I'm not going to play Mather. I'm not going to play Bruce. Like, these are the, like, Obi Toppin's priced right now. I'm only ever considering these guys if it's like a short 2-game slate or something like that. So don't like much there outside of Halliburton. And then for the Brooklyn Nets, so we have Claxton and Cam Johnson out. We're going to have to monitor what they do with the starting lineup. So I think they could start Sharp, or they could go back to Dorian Finney-Smith and Cam Thomas starting. So I'll go over what I think, what I like with both scenarios. So If we get the same starting lineup of Dorian Finney-Smith and Cam Thomas starting, then and Ben Simmons at the 5, then I absolutely love Ben Simmons at this price point. I played him when he started at the 5 at like 1% ownership. He absolutely nuked. The thing is, when he's at the 5, he's still going to do some ball handling. It's just his floor goes up even higher with the rebounds, um, and his ceiling goes up. So absolutely love Ben Simmons if they start him at the 5. Even if they don't, I still think he's a pretty solid play. Dinwiddie, if they do start Ben Simmons at the 5, he'll do a bit more ball handling as well, so I think he would be a good play. I would actually like him more. Bridges is just fine for me, and then Cam Thomas has just been phenomenal. Now, I think he'll go a bit over-owned from his previous performances, but he is a guy that's not scared to shoot the ball when he's out there. It's just up to him if he hits his shots or not, and he does have a really low floor. So, if Cam Thomas is going to be somewhat popular on this slate at $6,000, then I want absolutely nothing to do with it. But if he is going to be low-owned, that's when I'll have some interest in him. If Sharp's not starting, I can't go there. And then I mentioned in my Discord how with Dorian Finney-Smith starting, I thought Royce O'Neal was going to have a huge role. I thought they were going to go small. That's what they did. They played Royce 34 minutes. They did this last year too. They played Dorian Finney-Smith 32 minutes. They did this last year with Claxton out. They would go small. They would play Royce. They would play Dorian. So if they do that again, I think Royce and Dorian are two solid values on this slate. I think Royce has the higher floor than Dorian. But Dorian is fine too. I would prefer Royce to Dorian if they are going to play similar minutes. So I think this Nets team is very, very intriguing tomorrow in a good spot. And then if they do start Day'Ron Sharpe at the 5, then obviously I like Sharpe quite a bit. Really good point per minute. Only played 3 minutes, but he still went for 8 fantasy points. Like, really good producer. I would think he gets around 20 minutes if he does start. So would like Sharpe quite a bit for value if he does start at the 5. And then obviously if they start like Ben Simmons at the point, then I'm kind of not crossing off Dinwiddie, but I think he would be a little bit worse. And then I would still really like Ben. And then we'll see what else they do with the starting lineup. Like, does Cam go back to the bench or whatever? So we'll monitor that. I'll make some updates on Reddit for you guys when we do get that starting lineup. It is the early game, so we don't have too much to think about there. All right, they've been keeping it pretty easy on LaMelo's minutes. I think there is a chance they could tick up here. We'll see. But kind of like Tyrese Halliburton, not going to play huge minutes right now, but he's going to stuff the stat sheet, do everything for this team. He shot the ball very, very poorly. So if he just has one good shooting game, he could absolutely nuke the slate. So kind of like Tyrese, I do like me some LaMelo. I think Rozier is solid too. If you can't afford LaMelo, he has a much lower floor, but does still have a ceiling when hitting his shots. Hayward, no thank you. Mark Williams, I think is priced about right now. PJ Washington, not going to play him. And then I don't like much else here. Let's move on to Portland. So I mean, he just doesn't have it right now. He was really good in the preseason too. Producing wise, still had some struggles, but fantasy wise, he was solid in the preseason. But man, regular season games, this it's just I just can't do it until I see him develop a little bit, which I think a lot of the field's going to do the same thing. So he's going to be unowned. If you want to go there in large field tournaments, by all means, go for it. But I just can't do it. Once again, my favorite plays on Portland are going to be Shaedon Sharpe and Malcolm Brogdon. I still think they're reasonable plays. I don't like the spot. Also, this team is really, really bad, so there's always blowout risk with whoever they're going up against. But if I were to play anyone on this team, it would be Sharpe or it would be Brogdon. I think point per dollar, I do prefer Brogdon to Sharpe. So yeah, and then there's just don't really like much else on Portland tomorrow. All right, so we have OG questionable and we have Precious doubtful. Sorry. So Siakam, I think, is priced about right. Scotty Barnes, I think, looks great once again at 7-7. I watched the Sixers game the other day, and they're just looking to absolutely feed Scotty. I think 7-7 is just still way too cheap for him. High floor, good defender, can stuff the stat sheet, good rebounder, going to play close to 40 minutes. I mean, good spot against Portland as well. How do you not like Scotty Barnes? I think he's a great play once again. I think Schroeder's pretty safe at 5'9". facilitating very, very well, also playing big minutes. Hasn't shot the ball well either, and he's still been nuking. So I think Schroeder's pretty safe. Fine as like a last piece in for me. If OG is in, then I don't have too much interest in anyone else. If OG's out, then I think Gary Trent is playable, but 5-4 does seem right for him and has a very, very low floor. He's another guy that I like playing at low ownership. If he is going to be popular, then I just like fading. Every time like a chalk scoring dependent player is going to be on a slate, I just like most likely like fading unless they're just clearly, clearly underpriced. And then with Precious most likely out, maybe we'll see a little bit more Pirtle, but they could just go, I don't know, more Boucher. I don't know why he DNP'd the first game, but he's playing. Great, you saw Grady Dick have a big game up against the Sixers. I don't know what that was. That rotation was just weird that game. All right, Minnesota, so going up against Atlanta. I think, Ant and Cat are reasonable spend ups. I think I prefer Cat to Ant if you factor in price point. But both I think are good. Both are going to play decent minutes as long as they can stay out of foul trouble. Both are going to be the clear highest usage players on this team. So I have no issue if you want to go to either of them. I think Rudy Gobert is just there for me, although he's been very, very good to start this year. Just playable. No strong leans there. Mike Conley, no. I believe McDaniels is questionable. I don't think he'll play, so we'll probably get NAW into the starting lineup. He's just a fine value. And then, why are people surprised? If you guys watch my videos and watched my video the other day, I said they are playing Naz Reid more with Rudy Gobert, which means he is going to be playing more minutes. He's a phenomenal fantasy producer, and I said for this game, this slate right here, that I liked him for value because people aren't going to realize this. We had a lot of people in my Discord play him, and he absolutely smashed at 4.4K. Played 28 minutes. So if they are going to keep playing Nas, more so alongside Rudy Gobert, and keep playing him low to mid 20s minutes, then yeah, you could absolutely look to Nas Reid, even at 5K. If McDaniels is out, Slow-Mo's playable, but I don't love it. So yeah, gotta hop on this stuff before the field does. We realized it here. Looked at the rotation and took advantage of it here, right? So that's stuff you can do in the NBA, looking at rotations and who's played with who, looking at play-by-play and stuff like that, how you can get a little bit of an edge. Atlanta, so, Trey's just fine for me. Murray's just fine for me. Capella's just there. Now, Jalen Johnson, like I said, was the best value play on the slate. With him starting. If he starts again, I really like him once again. At 5K, he's just a really good producer. If he's starting and playing 30 plus minutes, he should be around $6,000, I'd say. Still getting a bit of a discount there. Hunter on this big of a slate, I just can't do it, but a safe value. Bogey smashed in the blowout today, I want to say. I just don't think I can go there on this big of a slate, but playable. Okongwu smashed in the blowout, I want to say as well. He'll get the backup 5, like around 20 minutes. Fair value. And yeah, let's move on to Dallas. So, Luka, I think, is getting to the price point to where he should be. But I mean, it's Luka Doncic. Like, he's always one of the best spend ups on the slate, every slate. So, no issue if you want to pay for Luka. I just don't think we have a ton of value on this slate. Now, that could change. But we'll see. I think Kyrie's overpriced or priced right. Lively had a phenomenal first game, started game 2 and just barely played up against Brooklyn because Brooklyn went small. Hardaway, no thank you. Grant Williams, not going to play him on this big of a slate, and that's it. All right, Memphis. So, same old story for every video I've ever done. I still really like Bane. I still really like Jaren. Now, they are getting up there in price point, so they're not like must for me or priorities for me, but I still do think they are solid spend ups. Bane had a bounce back game here, went for 39, still shot the ball. He shot it decent. I thought he started poorly or something. Had a terrible shooting game here in my lineup at 1% ownership, but with Ja Morant out, he gets huge, huge usage bump. So I still like Bane. I still like Jaren. I think Marcus Smart is just very, very safe. They have no one else to handle the ball. So he's locked in for decent minutes. Hold the ball in his hands a decent amount. So I think Smart's just safe. Tillman seems priced appropriately. And then with Aldama and Kennard out, Zaire Williams obviously has been starting, been playing big minutes. I think he's a safe value, but these performances are definitely a bit of an outlier. Then you're seeing decent minutes for Derrick Rose off the bench. I think he's okay. Fine, just okay. You're seeing decent minutes for Roddy, a fair play. And then you're seeing some Conchar, like fair play. All these values are in play, but they're just like fair to me. All right, Detroit. And another thing, why are we surprised that Jalen Duren is doing this? Why? Why are we surprised? I said in my first video, if Jalen Duren is going to get 32 to 33, 34 minutes, he should be a 7K player. So I think he's at where he should be. And if you want to fire him up, I would not hate you for it. In a good spot up against Oklahoma City Thunder as well. I still think he's a relatively super safe play at 7-1. So I still like Duren, even at this price point. Cade has a ceiling, but he's always in foul trouble. He's more of just a tournament play for me. Thompson, I think, is very, very safe. You know, a guy that's gonna do everything, stat sheet stuffer. So I have no issue if you want to go there. Stewart, just there for me. Ivy, no thank you. Hayes, no thank you. Burks has been good off the bench. If you want to keep riding the hot streak there, go for it. But yeah, man, I still like me some Duren even at that price point. Yeah, let's go over OKC. So, you know, this game should be fun to watch. I think SGA is fine. I think he's now at the price point. You know, I think with other spend ups, I'd rather just get to like, I don't know. I'd rather get to like, I think I'd rather pay for Tatum in a better spot. I think I'd rather go down to like Halliburton. I think I'd rather play Anthony Davis, right? So SGA, not my favorite spend up on this slate. Giddey seems priced right. Chet, I think, is okay at 6'9", been up and down. I believe he got into foul trouble early in this game. Not sure, but does have a ceiling. Jalen Williams, I'll talk about at 5'8", so I actually think he's a solid play. I kind of like put him in that like Jabari Smith category. Um, so yeah, I every time I think of Jalen, I don't know why, but I also think of Jabari. But yeah, I like Jalen at 5'8". I still think that's a little bit too cheap. Dort, no, and getting to everyone else just impossible for me. Warriors, they're pretty unappealing team to me. It's just Steph. I like his ceiling at the top for tournaments, and everyone else is just a cross off for me. Although Sarge did still get decent minutes tonight. I want to say, but tough to go to anyone else in the Warriors. And this team kind of like the Bulls. It's like, sure, one of them will have a big game. I do like the price points on the Bulls better and the spot better for the Bulls. I don't know which one it's going to be. I guess like I always just default to my favorite when they're at these price points being Ingram. But they're all in play for tournaments for me. Now, I am worried about Jonas Valanciunas going up against this small ball Warriors team. So he is just a tournament play for me, just a tournament dart. Got into foul trouble this game, but if he does play 30 minutes, you could see him smash. Not going to get to anyone else, though. All right, on to Miami. So Caleb Martin, I believe, is doubtful. Kevin Love is probable, right? Expected to play, and Jay Rich is doubtful. So Butler, I think, is fine. It's not a good spot up against Milwaukee. Don't love Bam. I think Harrow's now priced about right. Kyle Lowry seems priced about right with everyone back. But the value play I like, once again, is going to be Kevin Love. If you're going to continue to give him 20-plus minutes, he is still too cheap. So I like me some Love for value. You'll see some Duncan. You'll see some Thomas Bryant, Jovic. I can't get to these guys. Let's move on to Milwaukee. So bad game environment here, but Giannis is always playable for me. I don't know why Dame's 10K. Middleton will not play on is expected to play. I think he'll be on a limit. That basically just kills all the value in like Connaughton, Crowder, etc. You saw Beasley have a big game tonight. He will get open looks like he did tonight, but 5K does seem priced right for him. And I don't like the spot for Brook Lopez. On to Utah, this rotation is just pissing me off. It's the worst rotation I think I've ever seen in basketball. Like, what are we doing? Like, THT, they'll bench him. So hard to trust that. John Collins has played extremely, extremely well. I actually think he's pretty safe. Jordan Clarkson, I think, is interesting for tournaments, but Markkanen, I don't like the spot, so pretty unappealing team to me. Denver, so Jokic, obviously I like. I think he stands out as like the best spend up on the slate of the top guys. So no issue if you want to go there. Murray at sub 8K, I still think is a bit too cheap. Gordon, no. MPJ is just there for me. Good rebounder, can do a bit of everything. Reggie, overpriced. You saw Braun have a really good game, I want to say, tonight in the blowout. You saw Watson have a good game, but can't get to these guys. Orlando. So I actually think Banchero is very, very interesting for tournaments tomorrow. I don't think anyone's going to play him. I really like the environment here going up against the Lakers. So I actually do like Paulo quite a bit for tournaments. I think Marco Fultz, I like his ceiling. Same with Cole Anthony, but they're just tournament darts for me. No to Monacar Jr., Franz, overpriced. Suggs is playable, low for them. And we'll talk about the Lakers. So I think there's a good chance LeBron rests tomorrow. They just played overtime. He played like 575 minutes to back to back going up against Orlando. So I think there's a really good chance LeBron does rest. But going up against Orlando, I think 80 stands out to me as a really good spend up. I think LeBron's playable. I still like D'Lo, even at 6,100. I still think that's too cheap. Reeves is playable. Would know. Prince had a really big game tonight, but he's overpriced. Gabe Vincent had a really bad game tonight. I think he's priced right, and I don't like much else. Then obviously, if LeBron's out, then absolutely love AD. Really like D'Lo. Reeves would look good. Rui I think would be interesting. And then we'll just like monitor whatever they do. So could be important news there. I do think there's a really good chance that LeBron sits tomorrow. So I hope this video helped you all out, and I will talk to you all in the next one.